So back in 2019, I owned one business, which was pretty much just a glorified job. I had started that business in 2017, but it was in 2019 when I realised that I was the reason. I was the bottleneck within the business. I could not grow the business anymore because I was already working 6+ days a week, 10+ hours per day, sometimes until 2-3 in the morning, trying to get client work done in time to meet deadlines, this, that and the other. And at that point, I suppose I was making decent money, but my quality of life was not great. I was not enjoying running the business, and plus I was heavily tied down by the business as well. The reason I got into business was obviously for financial reasons, to be able to provide for my family better and earn more money to have a better lifestyle, which has worked out quite well. Currently I live in Dubai. I've moved some of my companies over to Dubai, but had I have stayed in that sole trader glorified job, even though it was a limited company and it was a business and I had some staff, if something happened to me, if I got sick or injured and I could not physically work in the business for an extended period of time, there was no business because there was no me. So the business would fall apart, I'd lose my income stream, and shit would hit the fan, to put it lightly. If your business is heavily dependent on you, not only are you screwed if you get sick or injured or if you just want to take some time off, you're tied down completely to that business. But also if you ever, if you want to retire, or if you ever want to sell your business is not going to be worth very much, if anything at all, if it's heavily dependent on you. So the solution to this is to put structure to the business, which I didn't have at the time, to put systems in place, which I had some systems, but it wasn't singing like a well-oiled machine, and then to build a team who can run the business for you. So I did have a team in place, a small team in place, but they could not run the business for me or without me. And anytime I brought somebody in, I was still having to micromanage, and there was a lot of issues there. I still held a lot of the responsibility for the business. So I spent a lot of time learning how to delegate and how to put structures in place. It was a Friday. It was one Friday evening. A friend texted me. He was like, "Hey mate, we go for coffee," or whatever it was. And I said, "No, I'm bogged down. I'm going to be here till probably 2:00 in the morning, getting client work done for a deadline that's due on Monday morning, whatever it is." And good friend of mine, and he's very successful in business too. And at the time, his business was obviously it was a lot bigger than my business, and a lot more staff, and a lot more going on, turning over a lot more. And he just replied. He didn't even say anything. There was no words. It was just a link to Wikipedia, and it was the definition of delegation. And I sat and looked at it, and I was like, it got me thinking. I was like, this friend of mine, who was a much bigger business with a lot more staff, turning over a lot more, like 8 figures, maybe 9 figures, staff count over 100, and a lot more responsibility within that business. Yet he wasn't in the office 5 days a week by any means, travelled a lot, and it just got me thinking. I said, what, I am the definition of a busy fool, because here's me working every God-given hour, can't hang out with my mates, I can't travel, making a few bob, it's great. And it was life-changing for me, that business, I suppose, that first business. I learned a lot. But, the definition of a busy fool. And I realised then that, how hard you work is not directly related to how much money you make. Because some of the wealthiest people I know, it's not that they're not hard workers, but they have a lot more free time and they have a lot more flexibility because they understand systems, they understand delegation, they think differently. And that's one of the things beside of the Delegation Bootcamp program is the first thing, in fact, that we work on is your mindset. Because if you can't see yourself as a builder of assets or a builder of businesses, and you only see yourself as a doer of things, as a worker, you're not going to be able to evolve past it. Another thing we look at then as well is education, because you need the right information. Right now, the way that you've been running your business, the way you've been thinking and the way that you've been operating, and the information that you have been operating on, that served you to get your business to this stage, but it's probably not going to serve you to get your business to the next stage. You need new information. Okay, and that's where we go online and we start seeking out different ways. Currently, if you're watching this video, you're interested in being able to remove yourself from your business, put structures and systems in place, and build a team so ultimately your business can run without you. But when we go online, it's very easy to get confused and overwhelmed because people often tend to overcomplicate this, especially when it comes to systemizing a business. It's very easy to make things seem complicated, and it's very difficult to make things simple. And I can assure you that the process that we use is very, very simple. Okay, I myself, I'm not that tech savvy. I easily overwhelmed when it comes to complicated systems and technologies and softwares and all this type of thing. So I like to keep things very simple. And for me, that was important when I was doing that with my first business. So you need to learn how to put structure to your business, company organizational chart, SOPs, KPIs, different systems and softwares. We have a specific framework inside of the Delegation Bootcamp program. It's one framework that can be tailored to any business. It does not matter whether you have a digital marketing agency, if you have a transportation company, if you have an accountancy firm, if it's a legal firm, if it's a construction company, whatever it might be. This one framework is principle based, okay? Obviously we share with you all the tools and resources and different softwares and stuff like that to make sure that you've got the basics in place. You know, you need to make sure that you've got templates and stuff for the likes of SOPs, KPI dashboards, org charts. Then making sure you've got the right CRM software in place, you've got the right accounting software in place. You understand how to build the right team. And you know, when it comes to delegation, it's important to not put the cart before the horse. Before you start bringing people into your business and just getting them to do stuff, you need to make sure you document the process. So we follow the IDAT method, which is I stands for identify. So you want to identify pressure points and bottlenecks within your business. You want to document the process. You want to then assign responsibility of carrying out specific tasks to specific people. And then you want to track. So by track, it's making sure that you're holding people accountable. We see a lot of the time people come into us to say, yeah, I've tried to do this before, I've tried to systemize my business and build a team, but you know, we put together the KPIs and we have SOPs and we built them, and then I don't even know where they are. We never looked at them again because they don't have the right structure in place to track and review and stuff like that. So it's a combination of things, and I suppose the most important thing is to make sure that you don't put the cart before the horse. That's a mistake I made as well, just bringing people in. You're just adding more people to the chaos. You need to put some order to the chaos before you start delegating and scaling the business. But once you do that, once you have good systems in place and the company has a good structure to it, regardless of whether now you're just a one-man band or you've got a staff of 150 plus and you're turning over 7-8 figures, whatever it might be, you should follow this exercise, okay? Put structure in place, systemize your business, and build a team, for the simple reason that, you know, if something happens to you as the business owner, you still receive your salary, okay? It's a lot less risky to build your business in this way. But maybe you also want to plan for your retirement and for your exit. Maybe you want to sell your business down the line. You want to make sure that your business is a sellable asset and that that you're maximizing the value of your business, okay? Because if your business is heavily dependent on you, it causes so many problems, but it's not really a sellable asset, okay? So if you are a business owner and this sounds like your situation and you would like some help to put structure to your business, to systemize your business, to build a team and delegate responsibility so that you can remove yourself from the day-to-day operations of your business, so that regardless of whether you are there or not, your business still runs, you still get paid a salary. If this sounds like you, make sure to check out delegationbootcamp.com to learn more. And if there's anything specific you want me to cover on this YouTube channel, pop a comment below this video and I'll see you in the next one.